Tamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nasta Prayeshu Vidreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Idam Bhagavata. Okay, 6th canto, chapter 13, text 11. And what happened? Tayendra Smasahat Tapam Nirvitir Namum Abhishat Vrimantam Vachatam Praptam Sukhayanti Api No Gunaha Tayendra Smasahat Tapam Nirvitir Namum Abhishat Rimantam Vachyatam Praptam Sukhayanti no Gunaha. Go ahead.
Tayendra Smasahat Tapam Nirvritir Namum Abhishat Srimantam Vachyatam Praptam Sukhayanti Apino Guna.
Tayendra Smasahatapam
Nirvitir Namum Abhishat
Rimantam Vachyatam Praptam Sukhayanti Apino Guna. Mati, ladies. Tayendra Smasahatapam Nirvitir Namum Abhishat Nimantam Vachyatam Praptam Sukhayanti Apino Gunaha. Tayendra Smasahatapam Nirvitir Namum Abhishat Rimantam Vachyatam Praptam Sukhayanti Apino Gunaha. Tayendra, Taya, by that action. Indra, King Indra, Sma, indeed, Abhishat, suffered, Tapam, misery, Nirvriti, happiness, not, Amum, him, Abhishat, entered, Brahmantam, one who is shameful, Vachyatam, ill fame, Praptam, obtaining, sukhayanti, give pleasure, api, although, not, gunaha, good qualifications, like possessing opulence. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura, and he suffered because of the sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritrasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief. Repeat it. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritrasura, and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy, he could not derive happiness from the killing. Indra's other good qualities of tolerance and opulence could not help him. Purport. One cannot be happy by committing sinful acts, even if he is endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, "This person has killed a Brahmana for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness." Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven and enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the accusations of the populace. Acha. That's what it was. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tvishe Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostate, Tapta Kanchana Gaurange, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priya. So that's interesting that it wasn't exact, well, that was the reaction was people were criticizing him. Foolish people that didn't understand. But this can happen, even happened to Lord Ramchandra. One crazy, drunken, low-class man was saying he's controlled by his wife, and the wife was fallen because she was with another man. And he's not fit to be the king, and it started spreading. Many people started thinking like that. If somebody starts some bad talk, it spreads like anything. You know? Good news, everybody thinks, well, that might not be true. But bad news, nobody doubts it, right? So the people that spread bad news, they start thinking themselves to be very important because they get popular, but they suffer. So And Krishna, about the Shamantaka jewel also, started, everybody in Dwarka started saying Krishna was envious or something. So, but Krishna, he didn't like that, but he was able to do something about it to prove. So Indra, because he's enjoying, he's a big demigod, so it's true that, he killed a demon so he could maintain his position, but his position is very important for the universe. They need the king of the universe. So no matter, but he couldn't, he was suffering in his mind. And he couldn't, in all his opulence, and nothing could help him. Even though he has some tolerance, but he's not always so tolerant. He wasn't very tolerant when the Brajbasis stopped his puja. So this is the nature of, we get attached. He's being worshipped all over the universe, but he couldn't tolerate even some little village in India stopping his once a year puja that they did. To take it as an offense. And he became so bewildered he couldn't recognize Krishna, because they know Krishna as Vishnu, the demigod's four-armed form, all-powerful. So they couldn't think of this little boy, 5-year-old kid or whatever, 6-year-old, to be that Vishnu. Couldn't think of Vishnu. Sometimes, but he did realize then after Krishna exhibited his power, then he could realize. Now I was just reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and one verse came up that since it's, Vyasa Puja coming up, and Prabhupada here is talking about following the order of the spiritual master. So it's about Advaita Acharya, that there were two groups and they divided. Then he talks about the Gaudiya Math. So he said, during the presence of Bhaktisiddhanta, everyone worked in agreement, but after his disappearance they disagreed. Actually, they disagreed in his presence, but he was so powerful they would follow anyway. They didn't like the one devotee who was managing everything, but he said, you're free to preach and just don't worry. And they went along with it, but after he left, they had nobody to control him like that. One party followed the instructions, but another group created their own concoction about executing his desires. In other words, they didn't form a managing, GBC. He asked them all to do that, but he didn't instruct any particular man to become the next Acharya. But just after his passing away, his leading secretaries made plans without authority to occupy the post of Acharya, and they split into two factions over who would be the next Acharya. Consequently, both factions were asara, useless, because they had no authority, having disobeyed the order of the spiritual master. Despite the spiritual master's order to form a governing body and execute the missionary activities of the Gaudiya Math, the two unauthorized factors began litigation that is still going on after 40 years. Finally, the government took over that yoga pit, and the Gaudiya Math people just take care of it, but the government controls it because they wouldn't stop fighting in court. So Prabhupada made the GBC before and tried to get everything going nicely. So Prabhupada said, therefore, we do not belong to any faction. Jai, Nitai Gaur. Many varieties of flowers. That's quite interesting. Frozen flowers. But because the two parties were busy dividing the material assets of the Gaudiya Math, stopped the preaching work, we took up the mission of Bhakti Siddhanta and Bhakti Vinod to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world under the protection of all the predecessor acharyas. And we find that our humble attempt has been successful. We followed the principles especially explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, beginning with Vavyasa Sattaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. According to this instruction of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is the duty of the disciple to follow strictly the orders of the spiritual master. The secret of success and advancement in spiritual life is the firm faith of the disciple in the orders of the spiritual master. That thing from Vishwanath was a great inspiration for Prabhupada. So he dedicates his Bhagavad Gita to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When he read that about everything depends just on following the order of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada always said he didn't do anything. He just took the order of the spiritual master and followed it. Yasya deve parabhakti yata deve tata guru tasyaite katita yarta prakashante mahatmanaha. Somebody was saying this is like the most quoted verse in Prabhupada's purports. To one who has a staunch faith in the words of the spiritual master and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the secret of success in Vedic knowledge is revealed. The Krishna conscious movement is being propagated according to this principle, and therefore our preaching work is going on successfully in spite of the many impediments offered by the antagonistic demons, because we are getting positive help from our previous acharyas. One must judge every action by its result. The members of the self-appointed Acharya's party who occupied the property of the Gaudiya Math are satisfied, but they could not make progress in preaching. Therefore, by the result of their actions, one should know that they are asara, or useless, whereas the success of the ISKCON party, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which strictly follows Guru and Gauranga, is increasing daily all over the world. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to print as many books as possible and distribute them all over the world. We have tried our best in this connection, and we are getting results beyond our expectations. Now, these followers of Dvaita, they were his sons even, they saw that Lord Chaitanya was always honoring Advaita and worshipping him. So they got the idea that actually Advaita is superior to Lord Chaitanya. Even though Advaita is saying, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, they took it as humility or something. So that's how they're considered useless, because they didn't follow Advaita. They thought they were honoring him, but they weren't. So we have people, as a result of ISKCON, that overemphasize Prabhupada like that. Actually, they don't say he's Krishna, but they say he's everything. Everything comes from him. But he wasn't powerful enough to create a succession. So we don't accept that. They think they're following. So Indra, we know a lot about him. He gets in trouble all the time. In this case, he was serving the demigods. It was Krishna's will also like I said, even Vritasura was telling him, come on and kill me, you know, because he wanted to get free from that curse. So he knew what he was doing. But Indra suffered mentally. So we have to be careful. You can't get away with sinful activities. But sometimes we think we can, like offending devotees or something. It was Vishwanath, right? That Madhurya Kambini, he said you have to be careful. Like if you offend a very advanced devotee and you apologize, he'll say, no, it's okay. Because he doesn't take offense, he's advanced, he accepts things, you know. So that then we can think, well, it's okay, he doesn't care, it doesn't matter. But Krishna does care. He says the dust of the feet of the pure devotee, that's Krishna, he doesn't like it. And then there'll be some difficulty. So one has to be careful. Chanting in a humble state of mind. Then that's how our movement is spreading. Devotees, for the most part, are very much trying to follow their spiritual master, and they get empowered, having faith that the spiritual master is representing the parampara, and everything's coming down from Krishna, not doubting the scripture, you know. And there are apparent contradictions in the scriptures, so the mind can become confused. But it's always said if you just think of Krishna's activities, then you can work it out, because Krishna does everything is so amazing. So Indra here, he wasn't thinking like, even Arjuna was hesitating to fight, thinking it would be sinful to kill all his family members just because they're lusty and greedy. Why should I be like them and fight just to get the kingdom? Even Yudhishthira was saying like that. But Krishna said, no, you have to. I want you to be the king. And don't worry, you'll be protected. So Prabhupada is saying there in that purport that we're protected, you know, by pushing on this movement. There's been so many impediments. Germany was famous for impediments at one time, right? The government came and took away everything. But the devotees they didn't take all the books, and the devotees just kept distributing books. And they installed Nrsingadev, and now only problem is that Kali Yuga is so powerful, people are so bewildered. But it's Manusyanam Sahasreshu. We read last night. Out of many thousands of men, one may have some interest in his spiritual life and, you know, perfecting his spiritual life. And out of thousands of those, only one will ever know Krishna. So we see that it's very personified when we go for book distribution. One out of so many will stop for a minute, and most of them walk away, like, not interested. I don't need it, or I have it already, you know, something. I don't have money. But a few do. And if even a very small percentage of people out of the society become Krishna conscious, they can change things so much. And many, many, many are. They're getting exposed in some way, you know. They just see devotees, they see the Harinam, they hear something, they hear the holy name. And we give the mantra. They benefit. If they can just say Hare Krishna one time, you know, we can't imagine actually potency of that. Prabhupada told us way back, if they just touched the book, he was thanking the book distributors. And he knew that, so many people refuse and we get insulted and sometimes knocked out physically, sometimes just kicked out of wherever we are, or get away from here, sometimes go to jail. But he said even if they touch the book, they get so much benefit, their life has changed. They're starting on the path, back to God. And even they try to attack us in different ways. Like in the Chicago airport, we had a really big party with 20 devotees, 25 devotees every day. It was a very busy place. That was back when airports were airports and not shopping centers. So we could do that. After they changed it, then you can't go anywhere, you stay in the corner somewhere. But there was a woman, and she was managing this place where the military people could sit and relax. And of course the military boys were all young, they had a lot of money, so they took a lot of books. And whenever she would see one of them with a book, she would take that book and she would take a big black marker and go over all the pictures and rip out pages and tell them it's no good. And somehow she got the newspaper to write an article how bad the Hare Krishnas are. And said that they're selling books that no one can read. And to prove that, they put in the Krishna book that right in the front was this Krishna, 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 hey, Rama, Raghava. They put the whole thing to show that it's in a language nobody knows. So devotees got all upset and wrote to Prabhupada. He said, this is very good. This writer has said Hare Krishna so many times. And he said the effect of the, it's offensive because but that will go away, but the effect of the holy name, that people read that. And I noted, because we for 1 week after that, we had a lot of trouble. People wouldn't stop, and, But after a while, they were saying, oh yeah, Hare Krishna, that was in the newspaper. So Prabhupada, he understood many times. They gave him one article in somewhere in Australia, and they were really upset. It was very blasphemous. And Prabhupada counted, he said, how much circulation is this newspaper? They told him like so many 100,000. And he said he has said Hare Krishna 27 times. And he multiplied 27 times how many newspapers. He said, that's wonderful. There's, 1 million Hare Krishnas. So that's, we can't really understand, but somehow the movement is spreading all over the world. And Indra is not trying to stop us anymore, but he still gets in trouble because he's lusty. And he uses his mystic powers to seduce the wives of even sometimes his own guru and different things, so he gets cursed and gets in trouble. But they have to get him back to be the king of heaven. So we should take this seriously, just stick to the basic principles. The third offense is disobey the order of the spiritual master. Now, to understand the order of the spiritual master, Prabhupada, he taught, of course, by all his books and so many lectures, which he was very careful from the very beginning to make sure his lectures were recorded, which was quite in those days the tape recorder weighed at least 10 kilos, and very troublesome. And he always had a second-hand one that wasn't very good, but somehow devotees managed to record everything. They had to save these big tapes, big reel. And they would get tangled up, and Umapati Prabhu, who was in charge of it, he said if it stopped, they got tangled, Prabhupada would stop talking until they got it running again, to make sure that everything got recorded. But then another thing is his example. He taught by example. So some things, are not spelled out, although overall they're there somewhere. But by his example, he showed how to deal with every kind of person, how to preach in every kind of circumstance, and how he was definitely empowered to know about how to do everything. He knew how to deal with lawyers, he knew how to deal with the court. He'd never studied that, especially American court, but he had to guide the lawyer sometimes. The lawyer would say there's no hope, Prabhupada's going to do like this, do like that. He knew about construction, he knew financing, he knew everything. Not just Bhagavad Gita, not just Srimad Bhagavatam. He knew the practical application and he lived it. So by serving his mission, the Bhagavatam will be revealed to us. Part of his mission, of course, is we have these classes every day, and we hear Srimad Bhagavatam and serve the devotees. It's a service to the devotees to hold a class, to have a temple, service to everybody. Now we have big festivals coming up, lots of them. Next week is really heavy. You got Janmashtami, Prabhupada's Appearance Day, and Rath Yatra. Rath Yatra is on Saturday, right? That's good. Like in Bangkok, they'll only give us permission to parade on Sunday when there's no traffic and everything is closed. So we have a parade with, same thing in Africa. Nobody's around. But here you're lucky. And you have these amazing shopping places where there's so many people already. So that everyone gets the mercy of the Lord. So it's very admirable that somebody can manage so many festivals in 1 week. Of course, you work on it for a long time. So I'm quite honored to be here and be able to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, to speak on it. Everybody should speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, to whoever you meet, wherever you go. Lord Chaitanya's order, Yare Deke, Tara Deke, Krishna. Wherever you go and whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna, somehow or other. I know one of my godbrothers, he's been a book distributor like all his life. He got injured really badly a couple times. Now he has this Parkinson's. But every day he goes and he prints mantra cards with the mantra on one side and some clever thing on the other side. The last one he had said, I've got God's phone number or something. Tell him to chant. And people really liked it. And every day he'd go to ask everybody. My Guru Maharaj told me to ask everybody to chant Hare Krishna. Can you say this? Mahavishnu Swami, can you say Hare Krishna? And so many people every day. New York, I was chanting one time and gave them, he has that fake microphone. I gave it to one woman, and can you say Hare Krishna? She just grabbed it and started singing for a long time. Couldn't stop her. So that's the effect of, Harinam after so many, many years. People have seen it so many times. So they may not be coming to the temple, but they like it. And just by appreciating it, Bhagavatam says they get the same benefit as the preacher. If someone just appreciates the preacher, just says, yeah, I like what you're doing. A lot of people that are regulars on the mall there yesterday, they go, like that. They know it, they like it, they know it's a good thing. They sit there all day and see how all these people are just wasting their lives and spending so much money for decorating their bodies, but they never have money for Bhagavad. Too expensive. People are crazy. We were distributing on the train in India one year, just going from Vrindavan to Delhi. So these people are on the train, they've got 3 newspapers they're reading, and they say, I don't have time for Bhagavad Gita, or some would say it's too expensive. But they're Indian, so they're, it's covering is. I said, well, you've got 3 newspapers, so that's 100 rupees in 1 month, and you can have the Bhagavad Gita for 100 rupees, and you can read it your whole life, Then they get a little embarrassed and say, okay. But this Maya is so powerful, it has everyone bewildered. But you also see, like, when we hit that cathedral, how powerful, religious sentiments can be, that someone could build something like that. As I remember when I was a child, my father was an architect, and he would point out these churches, modern church architecture. They just look like an ugly, unattractive thing. And you go inside and there's no decoration, there's nothing, just wooden chairs. But because they don't feel like God, my house should be nice, but God, he doesn't. He should be happy without all that stuff. But these people, to build something like that, there's so much artwork and so big. And if you look at it, if you know a little bit about building, they didn't have computers, they didn't have AI or anything, but they had to design every block, So many of them are curved and they fit, and all these arches, and somehow they had to do all that. And then put them all in place so far high up, had to drag them. They had that much machinery, ropes and pulleys. So, but they were so dedicated, so devotional. So you see that in Germany, I notice, especially in the villages, you always see the really big church. It sticks up, Nowadays, of course, in the city, the big church usually can't see it anymore because of other buildings. But the old buildings are very beautiful. People had, culture. They were connected with nature. Now these new buildings are just glass, glaring, shining things, cement. They're sand castles, these cement buildings is something like 70% sand. And the glass is 100% sand, So the sand castles, they're not going to last very long. They're not going to be there 800 years from now with tourists coming to look at them. They'll be long gone. But, and in India, everywhere in the world, actually, they have huge religious monuments. India has so many. Israel has so many. Every country has. Europe especially. America and the East Coast, they have. As they moved west, they didn't build those big churches anymore. Built shopping malls and freeways, complicated highways and stuff. Nothing for God, just for sense gratification. So we're trying to build a religious society. We build temples, but book distribution temples has to go side by side. Temples are supposed to be like a headquarters for organizing, to get out and share the knowledge, give it to everybody. different ways to do that. Now many people are doing it without going out, just by and contacting, millions of people with their kirtan or Bhagavad Gita classes. So we can all do that. One Mataji, she's a big communications leader now. She was in charge of the Facebook page for Juhu Temple. And they were number 5 in likes, how many likes they get on Facebook. Number 5 of all the Facebook pages in the world. But she said every devotee should have their own, pages and put stuff up. It's so easy to do. We don't have to. You already have your account. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy anything. All you need is your phone. And nowadays they say if you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of money that way also. And some people make money by their preaching. There's ways to do that. If someone is clever, you put up your kirtan or whatever, and people pay to listen to it. And it spreads. And Govinda Maharaj was in China, and the devotees took him to some Buddhist restaurant. And then one Chinese girl that was there, she saw him and said, "Oh, I know you, Govinda, Govinda." And he was like, "What?" And she pulled out her phone and, showed him the kirtan. So she had the VPN. So it's just going like that. I went to Athens and we had a kirtan, and Tarna Chaitanya was there. He's from Croatia. And the yoga teacher was a friend of the devotees. I said, "How did you know about him?" She said, "Oh, I saw on YouTube. And I thought, I've got to bring him here, And ISKCON Desire Tree. I was there, it was a long time ago, before COVID. And they had just got a reward from Facebook, from YouTube, that they had 100,000 subscribers. And actually at that time they had 250,000. But the reward didn't come right away. And people were downloading 500,000 minutes of video every day from their website. So now they have like 35 devotees editing videos. But he said half of their subscribers people are looking at Krishna Das or Sadhguru or something else, But on the side it says, you may also like this, And it's some ISKCON thing. And they click on that and then they like it, so they subscribe. So it just keeps going, self-expanding. So everybody should do something. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Just put up a few pictures of Krishna or read the book for 10 minutes or something. And somebody will see it. So thank you very much. And please some comments or if you have questions. Questions are fun. Challenging.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
you read that Prabhupada's saying something can be judged by the results.
Yeah.
But we are also encouraged to not focus on the results, we just do our duty.
Yeah, and then the result will come. That's how you get the result. And that's a tricky one. Devotees, wonder, why do we? But the point is, we don't think, I got to do this, I want to do that. Like if you go out and thinking, I've got to distribute 50 books today, but it's everything's one at a time. Chanting japa, in the japa retreat, they have one t-shirt, I think it says one mantra at a time. Because if we're thinking always how many rounds have I got, how many are left, and we're not concentrating. But if we're just always concentrating on that one mantra, even the one name, then we get to 16 rounds done very easily, or more, right? And if we're distributing books, if we're doing anything, if you're cutting vegetables, you have to concentrate on them. You don't think about the whole pile. Afterward, you can think, oh, I did that, But it's always, if you think of anything besides one at a time, you're going to cut your finger, right? So it's one step at a time. We can't take 2 steps at one time. We can take one. So but the results will come. We're happy to get, but sometimes they don't come, measurable, or they come much later, Like Prabhupada, all the work he did in India and didn't get much there, except that he got the books printed, which was amazing, and he got the trip to America. And in America for 1 year, not much was happening. He had a lot of trouble, actually. But then all of a sudden, so much happens so fast. So you never know. If you plant a seed of peanuts, I think 6 months, right? You get the peanuts. If you plant a macadamia, it's like 25 years before you get nuts. But they're much better. So we're planting seeds. Prabhupada was in New York, and it wasn't growing very big in the first couple of years. Then he went to San Francisco, and there's so many devotees. And Prabhupada said the seeds were planted in New York, but the tree grew in San Francisco. But then New York also boomed. And the New York newspapers had not paid much attention to Hare Krishna. Only that East Village Other, which was like, just the East Village Other, that's just the hippies, the beatniks. But when Hare Krishna somehow got recognized in London, the New York Times, which was considered the most important newspaper in the world, put a headline, Hare Krishna stuns London, or something like that, with a big picture of the devotees in London, because the Beatles were helping. So we like results, and we have to practice, we have to think of, plan and stuff, but we can't be too attached that we have to get a certain amount or something, because Krishna may not give us, we should test it. But if we concentrate on the journey, we're going to get to the end. So thank you for reminding me, because it's very japa. One mantra at a time. It should be one name at a time. One syllable. And nothing else. Not thinking, ahead or behind. So that would be perfection. Kirtan is more easier to do that. You just concentrate on what you're saying, not thinking I have to chant for an hour or so. Okay, anyone else? Yeah.
I wanted to ask the question according to the question of Prabhu, concerning the question of Prabhu. So, is it correct, if we don't have results, what can we give to Krishna?
If what?
If we don't have results,
Job.
what can we give to Krishna?
Did you get that?
Love.
If you don't have,
If we don't have results, what can we give to Krishna?
you give yourself. That's what we want to do. At least I sometimes cry doing artik and think, I can make a pretty good show of waving stuff around, but what about giving myself, Okay, here's a flower, Krishna, here I'm bowing down, all this. But am I really giving myself? No, you can chant. That's what he wants. He wants to see us chanting and dancing and happy, hearing about him. It's not how much you give, it's how you give it, with consciousness. Attitude is everything. Service attitude, Prabhupada said so many times. By this service attitude, you're going to make a lot of advancement. He didn't say by how big service you did or how much money you gave or something. He treated everyone equally. Said everyone should give according to their means. So we don't really have anything. But if we try to do it to please Krishna, attitude, even in companies, personnel managers who hire people, they say they hire them, they watch them come in the door and they hire them by their attitude before they even look at their... One story came up a few times that was that, I don't know, it was Henry Ford or somebody. So he had two men applying for a job and they had equal education and, scores, everything equal. So he took them out to dinner in a restaurant. And when he walked out, he said, I'm hiring this one. So the other one said, why him? What about me? He said, well, he tasted the food before he put salt on it. And he was respectful to the waitress and everyone else in the restaurant. You put salt right away and you were only respectful to me. You were disrespectful to everyone else, like you're better than them. So he was looking for that. So that's what Krishna looks. He looks for our attitude. Somebody may be very, very powerful and, get huge results. That one story, back in the Radha Damodar time, Vaisheshika, he was on one party with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And there was a boy in one temple, and he distributed so many books. He was just like he had some kind of personality, and he'd just go out, everybody take it. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj told that temple president, our Vaisheshika is much better than your man. No, he's doing more books. And he said, no, because he knew Vaisheshika was, studying so much and very strict. And this boy then, after a short time, he just left. And some devotees met him later, and he was like a hippie living in a tent somewhere. They said, what are you doing? Why? He said, I already was the best Hare Krishna. I've already done that. So, he was so puffed up about his results that were bigger than everyone else. There are others who get huge results and are very humble about it also. But what Trinada Pisa Nichena, that's Prabhupada. So he has to try to make us humble sometimes. So that's all I know. I don't know very much, but Prabhupada covered all these things in letters and stuff. And he told us, we want to do this, we want to spread all over the world, we want to. But, don't give up just because it doesn't happen overnight. And Prabhupada showed us, the perseverance. In spite, he used to even go down to the ship and see when the next one was going back to India. But then he would never go. But he'd just think about it, and then he'd think, no, I have this mission. And even that Sumati Maharaji, who tried to get Prabhupada not to go, because she liked him. He was giving Bhagavatam class at her place, and she liked it. And she said, Swamiji will die there, it's so cold in America, and there's only meat. And Prabhupada said, I have to go, my guru told me. And then Prabhupada wrote to her and said, I'm thinking to come back because, nothing's happening. And she said, no, you should stay. Once he got there, Krishna empowered her. All right? So, one place you can go and everybody follows you home and joins the temple, and books go, everybody wants books, and other places, nobody can even notice you. But Prabhupada, Krishna is pleased with the effort. Not that you have to run away from the place where not getting big results from. Because the result you want is the love of Krishna. And that comes from tapasya. All right? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to have a Harinam today. Huh?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. We'll have to see that what time exactly.
Okay. Make sure to tell us. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.